Welcome back to the Mystery Garage. We're getting back to work on the red Mk1. Last week's episode we had some rust repair that I thought to be the last of the rust on the car. Unfortunately, as we got into the episode, we ended up finding some hidden crash damage from years past on the rocker that exposed some rust. So today I'm going to practice what I preach, and we're going to power through that job because you can't let this kind of stuff stall your build. So today we're going to say goodbye to the rust for good. So let's get to work. Alright, so you remember in last week's episode we got into the wheel well and dealt with all the rust that was in there. That was what we thought was the last of the existing rust, but unfortunately in that episode we did end up coming across this. Some previous crash repair from years past where they had replaced this rocker. So in today's episode what we're going to do is we're going to continue to investigate to find where they tapped into this part here to weld in the new replacement rocker. We're going to dig it all out, make sure that everything is clean. We find all the rust throughout this area, cut it all out, and throw in that replacement rocker right there. I'm really looking forward to this because this will be the very final episode of anything to do with rust on this chassis, and I couldn't be happier. So let's get to work. Okay, so let me show you what I found. So you saw me doing a bunch of cleanup throughout the rocker, kind of just checking things out. What I was able to find out here is everything seems to be pretty clean. It was obviously covered up with some filler, but it was just to clean up their welds. And you can see, at least I could find that the weld goes across here, down this edge. And all this here is all factory still, but they filled it to kind of get rid of any of the lumps and bumps. But you can actually see their grinding and their welding up in this section and across 3D here. So this would be where they'd patched in, and then you can see right about here-ish is where it changes to from what was factory to where they patched in, and then across here with pinch welds. Now, on this end, I don't exactly know why they threw so much filler here, because on the inside, as I showed you before, this panel is all factory. There isn't any welding here or anything. So I'm not exactly sure why they filled so high. It might have been to feather out what they had created here all the way up. And what I mean by that is when you make a repair down here that might not be correct, you're gonna try and correct the error in the bodywork by filling out even farther. So I think all this filler in this particular section was to kind of correct their fill down here. So patching in somewhere here with my patch panel would be great. I just need to do a little bit more cleanup to get rid of whatever filler's here, and then we'll patch in. It will also correct the rust in this corner as well, all at the same time. Now, what I was trying to figure out was what I wanted to do with this area in here. So you can see that there's lots of filler in here. And again, this all seems to be feather out issue, because again, they welded what seems like down here, up here, and then across here, and then into this section here. And then they feathered out their correction up into this area, which seems unnecessary, but I think they got carried away. You can see just how much they corrected right here. Like what I started to do is I wanted to figure out, well, where did they stop filling or correcting their filling? You can see here, it's like super deep and all the way across. Even this is other filler. I couldn't see it stop until this area right here. You can see this is metal. This is back to where it should be without their correction in it. So I think I'm actually gonna choose to cut here and replace here. You know what? Nope, scratch that. I'm just gonna replace the whole thing. Let's go with that, because that's gonna make a better job. I have the whole thing. Why not? Let's just do it right and replace the whole thing. So that's gonna be a lot of cutting and grinding. You can see just how much filler is here. You can see my shop floor. I mean, what a mess. There's filler everywhere now that I've ground off, so I'm gonna need to clean all that up. But anyways, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get rid of all of this. Everything that they did that has any kind of filler on it, we're gonna take fresh metal all the way along top, down through here, and use as little filler as possible. You can see on the other side, which I replaced quite a while ago, there's actually going to be little to no filler needed. Maybe a little bit in this section just to kind of clean that up, but you won't need any across here, which is what I'm going for. You won't need really any in here, maybe just a little skim to beautify it, but essentially this whole side that I repaired quite a few episodes ago now is completely unnecessary for any filler at all. That's what I want to have on the other side. So what I think we're going to do is do exactly what I said. We'll replace this entire fresh piece of sheet metal and get rid of everything that they've done here with any kind of filler and just be all metal. This is going to take some time, but let's get started. Actually, before we get into that, I just want to quickly, maybe answer some questions. I've had a bunch of people on YouTube and Instagram, whether they DM me or comment on the videos, asking about how I lift this car or how I have this car set up currently. And I quickly wanted to show you guys that to maybe help your guys' build, to show you what I've done. Again, I don't have enough roof height in this shop to have a hoist, nor do I have enough money to go and buy one. I'm just an everyday, hand tool in the garage kind of guy. So what I did a long time ago was I went and sourced some sawhorses. They're steel sawhorses. They're way overrated for this job, but I thought it was perfect to get this car up high enough. And then I'll show you what I built on top of it. I did show you an episode. You have to go way back. I think I called it the poor man's hoist. If you go back and watch that episode, you'll see how I got the car up that high. But I will quickly show you what I've done to support the car to allow me to be able to work at it, which for me, I'm on a little dolly. This gives perfect height for me to get access to all this stuff. I can actually climb under the car. I can do any work I need to do at this height. It's great height. I still have, let me see if I can show you. I still have tons of garage height above the car if I ever needed to, not that I need to go that high, but if I ever needed to have a lot of room, especially for the garage door, it puts the car at a perfect height for me to be able to work on it. So let me show you what I've done. So what I got going on here are these tough built steel sawhorses. They're C420 sawhorses. I think they're rated, if I can remember correctly, they're rated at like 1,500 pounds per sawhorse or something like that. Way more than this 1,300 pounds. Way more than necessary for this car, because everybody knows Mk1s are super light. Two of these, that's, 2,600 pounds. This car would never weigh that much. So what I went and did is I welded up some jigs that sit on top of the sawhorses that grab the factory assembly point, as well as in the front. I'm going to show you that. They grab the mounting pads. There you go. Grab the mounting pads and go right across to the side and grab the other mounting pad. So I'm able to slide things up in between here. I'm able to work around it. It was the perfect opportunity for me to kind of do that. You can see how I just lay it on top of the sawhorse straight across, and then it grabs those two lift points and supports the car. I've had a great deal of good experience with this type of setup. I can rock the car as hard as I can. I can climb inside the car and nothing happens. And I'm a pretty big guy, so it's a perfect way for me to set up the car at a height that I can work with. And I just wanted to kind of give you guys the rundown of what I got going on there. It's actually height adjustable. I do have it on the lowest setting, but you can see here on the leg where there's that little clip, you can actually slide them so I think they're like a 1.5 feet or 2 feet of adjustment in height. But this lowest setting, I feel very comfortable with it. For me, this works out really well. But I'll stand back from the car a bit here. You guys have seen it in more or less every episode, but you can see what I got going on there with the jacks and how much of a mess I made. But it works awesome. You can see the little dolly that I sit on. That works really well for me to work on this car, see all the way around, access all the metal I need to replace. But thank God in this episode, we're going to be done with the last of the rust. No more of this cutting and welding rust and that sort of thing. We're going to be able to see it through. So let's get back to work. So I thought it was time to hit you guys with an update. So what you saw me do is cut out this entire section. I marked it off. I usually drop about ½ an inch or an inch below, and then I cut. What I did here too, and you'll notice it in the video, is I just cut along the pinch weld rather than drilling out the pinch welds. I will go through the step of drilling out the old pinch welds and removing that. Now what is there is just a strip. I'll remove that strip, but for me it's much easier. I wanted to see what was kind of beneath this. As you can see from what I've cut off, this is actually in reverse. Sorry guys, this is the part, this part here is that part here. So you can see where they welded in the patch. So this portion, I cut this right here, so don't worry about that. But this portion was welded in across like that, and then all the way up to the front of the car, where it was patched in right there. And you can see even here, you know, kind of where I've cleaned it off. And sorry, this isn't all the way up like it should be, but this will come up to this line. But anyway, it's all clean in here. You can see where the weld is that I cut off from their weld. So I actually found it perfectly. So it's all new metal in here, or original metal here, and in the door frame, original metal here, and original metal all the way across here. So this will be, when I'm done with it, the perfect repair. There should be relatively no filler. There will need to be some filler in this section here because it's going to be really hard for me to get an absolutely perfect metal line, but there'll be some filler in here. But this whole rocker all underneath will have no filler. There'll be no filler in this section here, just like I said on the other side. This had to be done. So I've cut out all of their repair work, so there won't be any filler anywhere on the car up in any of these sections. It'll just be all metal, which is what we're going for. I do have to do a small bit of repair work in this particular section, but what I'm gonna do, just because it's boring camera work, I'm gonna clean up the pinch welds here and the pinch welds along the bottom. I'm gonna do all that off camera, and will show you guys a little bit of the repair work I'm doing here. And then I want to, let me just pop this off actually. I want to show you something that I saw. So you can see in here is where they kind of welded in the new portion. But the unfortunate part is I don't really understand how this accident even happened. So this is the inner structure. This is all still really solid. It's just dented. I'm not too worried about pulling those dents out, to be honest with you. This is extremely solid. Even though it does have some dents in it, it doesn't affect anything. There's no bends in the actual framework here. It's just superficial. You can see even the original pinch welds right here are all still mint. Nothing's bent in the car, nothing's wavy, anything like that. It's just this outer frame. What I can't seem to figure out is how this part got bent when this part that covered it was still original sheet metal. You can see where they welded in the patch repair right there, which is just from that rusty mark. You can see the weld on the outside forward. So if this was covering this portion, how did back here all get dented up? I guess the force had to be right here pretty good. I don't know, that's so random. It might have been a very direct, like a pole, or I have no idea, that would have just hit directly into this part. But I'm not too worried about repairing that, to be honest with you. I went thoroughly and checked it out. I'm pretty happy that nothing's bent. Even all under here, it's still immaculate. It's still got the original wax coating and all that sort of stuff on it. So I am gonna clean all of that off. I do want to, like I did on the other side over here, I want to POR all the inside of this so they're never gonna have any rust in the future. And then, like I said, clean off all this pinch weld seam, as long as the bottom pinch weld seam, clean all that off, get all that old metal off, find all those pinch welds, and then I'm just gonna repair in this particular section right from roughly about here down to this pinch weld here. Should all be kind of new metal, just because there should be a cover that covers like that. And I'll do that, and then when you throw the new metal on, like you saw me have it, we'll just go ahead and weld it on. So I will be back in what seems like on camera in just 1 second, and we should be a lot farther along. Okay, we're back at it and paint has dried, so let's take a look what we got. So I went and POR'd everything you saw me do in the video. Everything's all cleaned up. Got in there and did everything all real nice. I also, off camera, rebuilt this part in here. So this is all fresh metal in behind here, as well as the other side. I also cleaned it all up, got everything organized and ready to go. I also, which you probably noticed in the video too, I also did I cleaned up all some of the rust surface here on the inside and cleaned all that up as well. I will be doing a fully detailed floor cleanup on a different episode, so we'll leave that all for now. I just thought since I had the paint out, I might as well do the opposite side right here, but everything's ready to go. We are now ready to start some welding. So why waste any more time? Let's get to work. So I thought I would quickly show you what I'm doing on this seam here. I don't obviously have a spot welder. So what I do is I just take a drill bit like this. Because if you saw, I'm sure there's going to be somebody in the comments saying, oh, you didn't clean off the part that you painted. Well, that's because I have a different method. I try and leave the paint, the POR on there, inside the seam here, as much as possible to prevent any rust. So what I actually do is I take a drill bit and I drill into here until it contacts the metal on the other side. It'll actually scrape the paint off from that the drill bit part, and then what I do is you can see I come back in here and I just plug weld it, and what actually happens is it does a complete bond right to the other side, and you can actually see, I don't know if you can see on the other side there that it welds right through. So that's basically how I do it. It creates what I believe to be just a better all-around weld, just because it is I do drill right through this surface, contact the other surface, and then plug weld it back so it's nice and smooth on the front side. No need for filler. You can kind of see what I'm going for. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. All right, we are all welded up. I put like twice as many welds, I think, than factory has. Same thing along the bottom. Figured the more the merrier. And I even up in the seam in here, connected the seam up so it's just one smooth seam. No holes, so there's no moisture getting in there. We are ready to go. So I'm gonna take out the grinder. We're gonna clean up all these welds. We'll throw some primer on it and we can wait until the body stage. Well, it's another late one, but there we have it. You can see just how smooth that panel is all the way up front. It's going to need no filler. Unfortunately, there is going to need some filler here. You can see just how wavy this panel is up above. I mean, you can see how smooth my panel was, but then up above, for some reason, it's all kinds of wavy. So there will need to be a little bit of filler in here, but not much at all. There'll be no filler down this section here. Just a tiny bit in the intersection there, and then up in this part here in the corner. But I thought that turned out really well all the way down. On the flip side, there we are. Anyway, it'll look better when I can open the doors and it's not so late at night. There's a bit of it, same thing again. In this particular section in here, we need a tiny bit of filler just to smooth out the transition. Again, my portion, very smooth, but it's the portion above it. So my panel is here. This part here isn't so great, which is the original part of the car. Same with this here. Not the best, but nevertheless, panel's looking good. Everything's all real nice and crisp underneath, which is what I wanted. I do have to take that tag off, so I didn't primer that, but we'll do a little bit more work on it when it comes to doing body. But I'm not much of a body guy anyway, so we'll leave that to the professionals probably. Transition in there, all cleaned up, all looking real good. Well, that about does it for this week. Like I said, this was the very last part of the rust on the car, so I'm happy to say the rust is all completely behind us. If you haven't had a chance to check out the newest Sunday episode where I picked up this Mk1 Jetta, make sure you hop on there, give that a watch. It's going to be a lot of fun. I have a lot of great plans for that car, and I really think we're going to have some fun playing with that diesel platform. So that's about it for this week, guys. Going forward now with this car, all we have to do is start getting ready to clean it up and put it back together. There's absolutely no more rust episodes in our futures. Looking forward to that as well. Thanks very much, guys. Appreciate you hanging in there. Don't forget, if you're not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. Thanks very much, guys. Next time, take care.